Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is David Cerns from Haley Marketing, and today's Lunch with Haley webinar is going to get kicked off in just a couple of minutes. Good afternoon, everybody. This is David Cerns from Haley Marketing, and welcome to today's Lunch with Haley webinar. So to kick off 2020 and our first Lunch with Haley of the year, picked a fun topic. I don't know, maybe because I'm the old guy in the company, they let me run the one called Not Your Father's Marketing, but asked our team to share some of their best practices for marketing in various areas. And we're going to do a little flashback in time in just a minute, but when I got started in marketing many years ago, it was certainly completely different than it is today. And then the staffing industry was also very different than it is today. And if you look at the evolution in the way we communicate, the way staffing services are sold, the way we recruit talent, it really is a whole different ballgame. And we don't have to go back 20 plus years. We're going to actually take a look at various areas of marketing. If we just go back a few years, even some of them last year, the way we're going to be marketing in this new decade is already different. So let's jump in and start by going back. So back to the future, if you will. We're going to go back to the year Haley Marketing was founded, which is 1996. So some of you, the gamers in the crowd, may recall such devices as the original Nintendo 64. That came out in 1996. And of course, this was the big year. This is when we went to DVDs. And we started to be able to get movies in our homes on those little discs. And this is before Netflix even became a thing. And Microsoft came out with IE version 3, even before we got to the absolute hell that was IE6 and IE7. The very beginnings. And back in 1996, most of the people listening, if you were in business, you probably didn't even have a website to look at. In other events, the stock market hit a peak of 6,000 in 1996, a huge increase, one that my graduate school professor in finance said that we wouldn't hit till the year 2000, and now look at where we are at 28,000. And of course, the Academy Award went to Mel Gibson and Braveheart that year. And the top television show was ER. All right, and I've got one more. This actually was a few months prior to 1996 that a friend of mine recently shared with me. Yep, that's me. And that little one in my lap, that is Rebecca Haley, for whom Haley Marketing Group was named. All right, enough of the oldies. But how about the staffing industry? What was the staffing industry like back in 1996? Found this interesting chart from staffing industry analysts and ASA. And they looked at the volume of, this is just a weekly employment of people working as temporaries back in 1990s all the way through 2018. What's really interesting is, let me highlight for you. So that green bar is 1996, when it was a little over 2.5 million, almost 2.75 million people worked as temporaries. And if you looked, it's increased. We're over 3 million today, but it's not really a dramatic increase. It's a relatively small increase. So the industry, in terms of total volume of workers, has grown, but not that significantly. However, how about how you get the opportunities? So selling back in 1996, some old things seem to never change. It was cold calling. It was a lot of drop-by calls. It was attending networking events. And I still see in the year 2020 and all through 2019, lots of staffing companies for whom this is still the primary method of selling 20 plus years later. How about recruiting? I think recruiting's changed even more dramatically. If we look at recruiting back in 1996, number one source of candidates were the classified ads and running ads in the Sunday paper. A lot of executive recruiters had their own little black book, and that was the advantage a recruiting firm had, is they had access to talent other people didn't. There was no LinkedIn, there was no giant resume databases available for you to just go in and find talent. So the recruiter's little black book was the secret of recruiting success, particularly for professionals and executive level talent. And Monster and Career Builder were both in version 1 of their products. So I believe Monster was actually launched in 1994, and Career Builder was, if it was 95 or 96, just getting off the ground, introducing us to the concept of job postings. And how about marketing back in 1996? Well, what did that look like? Well, when I got started in the staffing industry, I grew up in the staffing industry. When I really got started working for mom and dad's business in the early 90s and right through the mid 90s, marketing basically meant we had a brochure and we could use that to explain a little bit about our business when we were on a sales call. We had a fax machine. So skill marketing candidates very often was sending out the weekly hot candidates list via fax. And of course, there was the ubiquitous donut box, and everybody in the staffing industry loved to drop off donuts. And I think some people still do that today. But really, marketing wasn't very sophisticated back then. And we're going to now take a look at where things are today and where they need to go in the next couple of years ahead. I was about to say in the decade ahead, but the reality is the industry is going to keep changing and marketing technology is going to keep changing. So we just want to plan strategies that'll get us through 2020, maybe 2021, and then we'll regroup and figure out what's next. All right, so let's start with the foundation of your marketing, which is your website. More people are going to come to your website than you ever talk to on the phone, than ever visit any of your offices. It is really the foundation of your presence to most of your candidates and, to a large extent, many of your clients. So I'm not going to go 20 years ago, because in 1996, very few staffing companies even had a website. Let's just go back 2 or 3 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, what it was an online brochure. You may have really had access to your staffing software. Maybe there was a login so people could get to the features of the software. Most of the content was pretty static. And in other words, what you put on a web page, you didn't touch it. It didn't change very much. And for a lot of you, that may still be the same today. As I build the website and it just sits there. We tried to write long copy. There was a rule of thumb, like let's have 1,200 words or more on the home page. Let's make sure every page has long copy for SEO purposes. We're going to talk about SEO and how that's changed in just a little bit. And responsive mattered. I mean, even just a couple of years ago, responsive mattered. We crossed the threshold, we noticed the threshold crossed, I should say, for the majority of web traffic on staffing websites to be mobile. And that happened, I think it was December 2018, where we permanently crossed more than 50% of web traffic being mobile. So responsive is not a new thing. It's been a thing for a while. So let's look at what is new. What are the strategies you need to think about if you're going to build a new website in 2020 or going forward? So the first thing I'm going to suggest is information architecture. And in really plain English means, how do I get people to the stuff that they want to get to? So you want to think about your clients, your candidates. You want to think about prospective clients. You want to think about your current temporary employees. What do they want to get to? How do we make the access path as easy for them? The more clicks, the fewer people will get to the destination they're seeking, the more they're just going to disappear. So we want to think about that information architecture in terms of what is the most intelligent way somebody can get from point A to point B. And another way to think about it is, and this just literally happened to me last week, is where are people getting into your website? The information architecture isn't always just from your home page down to your conversion pages. It's from any page somebody might access first. Maybe they're coming in from a blog post that you shared, so they're coming in through your blog. Maybe they're coming in because you shared a job and they're going directly to your job page, a specific job. Maybe they did a Google search and it listed 4 or 5 different pages and they picked an employer's page or a job seeker's page. You have to look at every one of those pages as an entry point and think about, have I structured my navigation, my calls to action? Have I structured it in such a way that the person coming to my site, regardless of what they're looking for, can get at the information they seek as quickly as possible? And that's very closely related to the concept of conversion paths, which is when you design the site, thinking about how are we driving action? Somebody's going to come into a web page. What's the call to action? When they hit that call to action, where do they go next? What's that next page look like? When we have a response mechanism, some kind of form on the page, how are we designing that to maximize the people who complete the form? We're trying to make sure that as many people as possible who hit our website take some sort of action to engage with us before they leave. And so we want to think through those conversion paths so we're not losing people. And of course, the number one place that staffing companies lose people is when you get to the application process. Is it easy enough for your candidates? How many fields do they have to fill in? How many clicks? Can they use things like an Indeed resume where it's a 1-click apply or a 2-click apply? Or do they need to fill in a long form? You really want to go to your own website with the mindset, I'm a candidate who's never worked with this company before. What's it like for you? And you want to look at those conversion paths and see how quickly do you get lost? Hopefully you don't at all. And how long does it take to get to the conclusion? The faster, the better. In terms of the copy on your website, you want to think about scannable copy. When people look at a website, they just fly through it, sort of like the illustration you see. They don't spend a lot of time reading top to bottom. They don't read every paragraph. So you want to make sure that at the high level pages, those entry pages, you've got scannable copy, big headlines and subheadlines that my eye can follow. Doesn't mean the pages can't have body copy on them, more detailed copy. But you want to make sure that an individual, as they're scrolling on their computer or more likely on their phone, they're hitting the major points so that if they want more information, they can then drill in deeper. I see lots of websites that are still using that old school long copy on the homepage for SEO purposes. They're going to have terrible abandonment rates, terrible bounce rates because people can't scan. A lot of websites now are going to be built with page builders. So in the last, I don't know how many years, 6, 7 years, WordPress came onto the scene and started to dominate how websites are built. I think 30 or 32% of every website on the planet is now built in WordPress. It's great. It's open source. If you build your website in WordPress and then you go to another web development company, you're not locked into anybody's proprietary platform. It's awesome. Now, to make content management easier, WordPress has built in its own page builder, something called Gutenberg. And then there are third-party page builders. Here at Haley Marketing, we're building with one called Elementor. The reason page builders are nice is we know most of our clients, they don't know HTML. They're not web developers. And even though WordPress was always fairly easy to use to add content, if you wanted to do anything more than put words on a page, it wasn't easy for the average person to do. Page builders make that much easier. So your next website, you probably want it built not just in WordPress, but with some sort of a page builder that'll make it easier to manage. Then there's dynamic content, using data to update the information on the page, whether it's something as simple as here's our most recent blog posts, to I go to a page that's about skilled trades jobs, and the only thing on that page are skilled trades jobs, or I'm interested in jobs in a particular market where you have an office, and that page is dynamically filled with relevant local blog posts, relevant local jobs. The dynamic content makes the site more relevant for the visitor. One of the latest trends that we're seeing outside the staffing industry is actually personalization, where the sites start to remember visitors and bring them right back to the most relevant content. Not yet seeing that coming to the staffing industry, but we like to look outside the industry to see what trends are then going to impact how we do business. And lastly on this page, and probably most importantly, is that it's regularly updated. Too often, websites are built and forgotten about. They're really static, and your business is more dynamic. You've got new people coming in that work for you. You've got new clients you work with. You've got new success stories to tell. There's problems you've solved. There's new testimonials. There's online reviews that you're getting. You want your site to be regularly updated so it is always presenting your business in the best way possible. A website that's out of date really differentiates you in the exact wrong way by making you look not as good as your competitors. And you may not need to redo the whole site to make sure that you're updating the content or maybe changing up some of the photos to keep it fresh, to keep it interesting, and to make sure it's telling your story the way you want it told. Another thing that's becoming increasingly important, particularly in this labor market, is that the website has really strong employment branding. We're seeing more and more of our clients that are focused on internal hiring, not just hiring for their clients, but their own recruiters, their own salespeople, account managers, branch managers. We're seeing very few staffing sites that have a lot of content that sells the message of why work for our staffing company, why work for our recruiting firm. So we want to make sure that you're telling a really great story about your value proposition as an employer. And that does also hold true for your temporaries, even your direct hire candidates who may not work directly for you, but you need to have a brand that's all about your culture, your values, and how you treat people. And it's got to come through in your website, also in your social marketing, so that people see you as an organization with whom they want to work. Another one, hopefully everybody's already doing this, but we still see lots of websites that are not optimized for Google for Jobs. Google for Jobs has been growing greatly since it was introduced, I think now 3 years ago. And it is the first thing people see when they go search for a job, unless they go directly into Indeed or ZipRecruiter or another job board. So they're going to Google, they're typing in a job they're looking for, and it will show up in that little blue Google for Jobs box. Well, behind the scenes, your code has to be optimized with something called schema markup that basically tells Google how to understand your job. That picture on the right on screen shows the Google Structured Data Testing tool, and you can take the URL of a specific job, drop it into that test box, click Run Test, and it will show you on the left what your source code looks like, and more importantly on the right, what Google knows about your job post. If that information on the right is blank, there's no optimization. If that information on the right is filled with errors, you're not showing up in Google results. If it's filled with warnings, you are showing up, but you may want to look to address the warnings. You also want to look at automated talent re-engagement. Does your site allow people, candidates who are applying to jobs, to automatically get updates? I see lots of much better job portals on staffing websites, but still many of them have no ability for the candidate to get notified about new searches that match, or new jobs that match their search criteria. What you see on screen here is actually a tool we built last year. So our clients using our job portal software, our career portal, can automatically set up job category mailing. So anybody interested in an industrial or warehouse or a technical, in this case, job, automatically get weekly updates about jobs they're interested in. So you want to create your website so that candidates can get what they want, when they want it, on complete autopilot, and you don't have to think about individually marketing jobs, but your candidates are being kept top of mind because you're spending so much money to get them to you the first time. You want to make sure you get them coming back so you can constantly place them on their next assignment. Next one is visitor tracking. And there are software technologies that you can install that would do, it's called IP tracking. It tracks the address of the visitor to your website. And very often they can tell you what company that individual is from. Some of them will claim they can tell you the name of the person. I personally don't buy that that's very accurate. But the companies, especially if you've got larger companies visiting your website, you can use this software to know many of the people who are visiting your website. The software itself is not perfect. For example, if you're a job seeker, you may be having an internet service provider that's your local cable company, Spectrum Cable, and you may show up in the IP tracking or the visitor tracking as Spectrum Cable. Well, it doesn't mean Spectrum Cable was on your website. It means somebody who used Spectrum Cable was on your website. So it's not a perfect technology, but particularly if you're trying to target larger employers, mid-sized employers, it will show you if those people are on your website. And with mobile, we want to go beyond just being responsive, and we really want to think about how to leverage the platform. So there are some things you can do on mobile that you wouldn't do on desktop. And one of the things that I'll suggest, something that we've done for years, is to take calls to action and make them part of the mobile interface. They're not part of the desktop, that call us, location, search jobs, contact us, that highlighted bar you see at the bottom of the example phone. They allow the visitor to use the functionality of the phone to get to the features they want or to call you right from any screen in the website. And when you're thinking about your mobile experience, your web developer is going to talk about being responsive. You want to say, no, I want to make sure not just responsive, that we are optimizing it for use by a mobile job seeker. What responsive means is the content adjusts to the device. But you may want to go beyond that so that maybe some content is completely eliminated. You don't want that much. Maybe copies less. Maybe images or video is eliminated. So you want to think about, how do I optimize to get the conversion path on mobile to be as effective as it can be, just like it would be designed on desktop. And lastly here is to ensure ADA compliance. There'll be a slide coming up later on. We did a product demo webinar last month about the Americans for Disabilities Act and the challenges for the staffing industry, because every one of you runs what is effectively a career site. You have jobs on your website. People can apply to jobs. Well, they've now, all employment sites have become the target of attorneys saying, hey, that's usually an easy target for a lawsuit, because most career sites, especially corporate career sites, they're barely mobile accessible, much less accessible to someone with disabilities. And making your site compliant isn't just a good risk management practice. It is also a good way to expand your talent pool. If your clients can work with people who have disabilities, fantastic. Now, by making your site so that it is more inclusive, you will get more talent applying to your jobs, and protect yourself from having to waste money defending yourself in the event of a lawsuit. All right, let's move on to search engine optimization. So let's go back. What it was just a couple of years ago. It was about optimizing for a few keywords. I want to be #1 for best staffing agencies in Boston. I was thinking about, I need to have exact match URLs. So I'm trying to make every URL match a keyword search that somebody might be typing in. I focused on keyword density. How many times did I use a keyword within the copy on my web page? I really wanted to just make sure I was on page 1 of Google results. That one hasn't gone away. But the focus was, I don't want people to have to click to the next page, or I'm going to just never be clicked to. The big focus was on technical SEO. How do I optimize the elements of the HTML code so that they will perform best from an SEO perspective, and also building backlinks? How do I get more links from other sites into my website? I will say some of these things have not changed. We'll cover the 2020 in just a second. And then the last one on the list, we still have people asking about metadata, which for the most part hasn't been a thing for a decade or more. The only thing that really matters is your descriptions, your meta descriptions, so that when your website shows up in a Google search result, the words that Google shows based on that meta description accurately reflect who you are and have a decent call to action to make people want to click on your website. So let's look forward to strategies for 2020. And by the way, if you're interested in SEO, we're going to have a real heavy focus on it in our Lunch with Haley and our product demo next month in February. So check out our lunchwithhaley.com website and sign up for next month's webinars. But to give you a little teaser, today it's not so much about the keywords as it is the search intent. What is the person looking for? Google is really trying to anticipate not the words people are typing in, but the intent of those words. Am I really just looking for a specific job? Am I really looking for a specific staffing agency? Or am I trying to find anything related to a career in my field? Am I trying to solve a specific problem. Google's using their own machine learning to understand what you're really looking for when you do a Google search. And so what you're trying to think about is, I need my website to be providing answers to the questions my clients and my candidates are asking when they go to Google. It's not matching the words they're using, it's answering the questions they're asking. And if you look, this SEO dashboard from a sample website I pulled up here, the keywords that were used to find this particular staffing company. Now, in a 90-day period, they had nearly 10,000 visitors from search engines, and the number one on the list for impressions is way down there. It says 10,000 impressions on people, 80 clicks from the term team player. They had the highest number of clicks from the term benefits of delegation. This has nothing to do with being best staffing company in Boston. These are keywords people were using to search for information that brought them to this staffing company's website. And then this company, if they did a good job with their conversion path, thought about how to be answering questions with their content and then lead people from those answers into information about their services. That's what search intent is all about. Next thing is page 0 results. So before it was page 1 results. Page 0, what that means is those boxes that Google shows at the top of the page where you type in things like how to tie a tie. And right at the top of the page, you get a series of instruction. So that snippet at the top is called a page 0 result. You are showing up above any search results. That's an ideal place to be. Related to that is zero-click searches. If I was looking to tie a tie, I might get all of my instructions right here. I never leave Google. So for the ties.com website, they've given me valuable information. Google knows that I never left the Google site, so they know that what they showed me about ties.com was relevant. This actually helps ties.com, helps me because I don't have to have as many clicks as a site visitor, but I'm learning without doing a click. And you're going to see more and more of that. You see when you look for restaurants and flights, Google is trying to keep you on Google. You want to make sure that when somebody's looking for staffing, you're thinking about, geez, if they're not going to even click a single link, how do I answer questions in the Google search results? That may be by writing blog posts that are answering common questions, providing frequently asked questions where you go through all of the kinds of challenges somebody might have with working for a staffing company, going through the interview process, using your services, and answer them with your website, because those are the kinds of things that will show up in page 0 results. Again, Google for Jobs, and related to that, we're going to do Google My Business. So there's that Google for Jobs box. This particular search I ran for Advanced Group Staffing in Ohio, and you'll notice that the Google Jobs box is filled with their jobs. Because Google knows, and I didn't even use the word job in my search, but Google's probably guessing that my intent, because they're a staffing company, is looking for jobs. And so it shows me job results based on that search that I did, even though I never looked for the word jobs. And then there's the Google My Business, the information you see on the right of the picture. So I can see that they have 4.1 stars with 22 Google reviews. That's great. Love seeing over 4.0. I can get information about their company. I see where they're located. That all comes from the Google My Business profile. So you want to make sure that's completed for every one of your office locations, that you've gone through the process of getting that set up. I've also heard most recently, and hopefully our SEO guys can answer even more than I can about this, that things like adding your blog content to the Google My Business page will further enhance when you're showing up in search results. So Google My Business is Google's way of trying to help small businesses promote themselves online, and Google's way of knowing everything about those small businesses. You're going to want to make sure you have that completed for your company and for each office location. Now, I don't want to get away from technical SEO. It absolutely still counts. You still have to think about having really good on-page optimization. Even though exact match keywords aren't as important as they once were, you still want your URLs optimized. You want your page titles optimized. You want your headlines, your H tags optimized. You want good internal links. All of that stuff still matters. We're actually seeing a lot of our clients where we're going back to old, really good blog content and updating the technical optimization. And we see a huge boost in visits to their website by just re-optimizing existing content. and backlinks still count, but now it's as much about quality as quantity. So it's not about how many backlinks, but I want backlinks from sites that get good traffic, sites that are known to be reliable, that have good reputations. I don't know about you guys, I get solicited almost every single day from somebody who has a marketing article that they would love to post on our website because our site ranks pretty well. And they would love to take advantage of getting backlinks from our site to theirs. Well, you want to think about who are organizations in your area that are very reputable: colleges, universities, trade schools, professional associations, anything that ends in .org. You want to think about how could I maybe give content to those types of organizations, be interviewed for their website, beyond maybe a podcast that they're going to transcribe and put on their website, so you can help create more quality backlinks to your site around relevant keywords that people would be searching. All right, and I'm going to get out of SEO before I get over my head, because the next one gets real technical, and that's the schema markup. That goes with the Google for Jobs, but that's actually adding code behind the scenes to further help Google understand the nature of your content, so that when Google is showing those page 0 results, it knows what data needs to be structured, like job data, so that it can show the information properly to somebody without ever having to leave the Google search results. All right, let's move on to job advertising. So, no secret what job advertising was. Still is to a large extent. Post and pray. I'm going to buy job posts, maybe 1, maybe 3, maybe 10. I may buy a monthly contract. But most of them weren't monthly. Most of them were annual. Annual contracts with a fixed monthly spend. I have to spend $5,000 a month with Indeed, and I signed a 1-year commitment. Otherwise, my price would be even higher. Job boards like those contracts. A lot of the decisions on which jobs to sponsor, which jobs to even post, were relying on gut decisions. The recruiters could make their own decisions, or a branch manager, which position are we having a hard time filling? Let's advertise it. Or even worse, not even thinking about it, it's like whoever's first to use the budget gets the budget. People were manually posting their jobs to multiple job boards, cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste, highly inefficient. And we see, as a result, there's too many jobs and jobs that are getting too few applies. We also have data in multiple locations to try to figure out, well, which is working. Is Indeed working? Is ZipRecruiter working? How about posting to our own website? Oh, how about CareerBuilder? How about Monster? How about our local newspaper? Everyone has its own analytics, and a lot of times the numbers don't even agree. And then spending is decentralized. So the budget implementation may be made inside each branch office instead of somebody internally who owns the ability to look across the organization and see, where are we spending the most money? What markets need it? What offices need it? Where do we need to up the budget? Where are we having more spend than we really need? That's what it was. And probably for many of you, that's still where it is. Well, in 2020, we have to look at the evolution of job advertising. Just a few years ago, it was you paid per placement, the job post. Then it moved to job slots, where I'm paying for space. I get so many jobs every single month, and I can rotate those jobs in and out. And then it went to pay-per-click advertising. I can sponsor jobs, and I'm only paying when someone clicks on them, but I'll get preferred placement on the job board through my pay-per-click budget. And what we're seeing it go to is more of an optimized cost per application, is using tools to help figure out, how do we get the lowest cost per application for each type of job we're trying to fill. And that's all about performance-based advertising. We're really going to a model, the industry is slowly migrating towards using software to really manage the process of job advertising. We're trying to focus on optimizing that cost per apply, so that jobs that are easy to fill, we don't spend as much. Jobs that really need some help, we spend more. Jobs that are really hard to fill, we understand we're going to pay more. And we're maybe thinking about multiple strategies. We may have an active job seeker strategy that's got one cost per application, but we have to layer in a passive job seeker strategy that's going to have a higher cost per apply. But we understand that all has to be factored into coming up with our ideal cost per application. We're going to look at automated job distribution. No more need to do that manual sharing. We're going to use tools that send the jobs out to different sites, or publishers as they're known. We're going to want to test content, doing A/B testing. What is the impact of changing a job title? What is the impact of changing the description? So we can see, does changing variables result in different numbers of applications, different cost per apply? Matt Lozar, our director of recruitment marketing, did a great case study with a healthcare staffing company. We found a dramatic increase in the number of nursing applications just by changing the job title from the acronym people are used to using to spelling it out with different ways. Made a huge impact on the number of applications and that cost per application. We also want to look at centralized analytics. Now, whether you're using programmatic tool or you're using just career portal software, you want to have some sort of a dashboard that allows you to see what's going on with your jobs. How many jobs are out there? How many people are viewing your jobs? How many applications you're getting? What's your conversion rate? How many applies are you averaging per job? Where are your applications coming from? This data helps you make decisions about where to spend your money, and also down to the level of seeing which jobs or which locations for your offices need help. Then there's programmatic. We're a partner with Appcast using their ClickCast software to really use advanced tools to help us accurately manage how our clients spend their money on their job posts, where they're spending it, what's working, what's not working, to optimize the performance of that spend. The nice thing about the job boards, one of the things that they did, not everybody knows, is you don't have to have those big annual contracts. In fact, we want to have variable spending based on needs. So if you're a light industrial staffing company and you have huge needs in the fourth quarter, you're going to spend more in the fourth quarter, because not only do you have huge needs, but you have more competition for people. So you're going to spend a lot more. But then maybe in the first quarter you slow down. Well, a fixed monthly budget for job advertising makes no sense to a business like that. So you want to be able to make your advertising go up and down, matching demand for your temps. And that's the elimination of annual contracts. And even better, elimination of having to talk to the job boards themselves by working with someone who's doing the programmatic, so that you're managing it through an agency of record to get that variable spend, to get the centralized analytics, and to make sure the jobs are being managed more efficiently without the disruption to your day and without the decentralization of information. Employment branding, I'm going to mention that one again. I mentioned it in websites, but particularly in job advertising. And employment branding, for most of you, falls into two different layers. There's your own organization. So you want to have a brand as a great staffing company to work with. You're easy to work with. You get people placed fast. You're responsive. You're great at communication. You have good jobs. You pay well, etc. You also want to look at your clients and their employment brands, because if you work with employers who are really well known, seen as a great place to work, and you can leverage their brand in your recruiting, you're going to be successful at recruiting. If your clients have terrible employment brands, and every time you tell a candidate where the real job is, they're like, ugh, I'm not working there. You need to help your clients with their branding. You need to help, at least make them aware of the fact that in this labor market, when candidates can work anywhere they want, if an employer is seen as a terrible place to work, they're going to either have to pay a lot more for talent or watch their job openings go unfilled. So employment branding, everybody, on today's webinar, think about it from your own business. How do we improve the experience for our candidates? And think about it for your clients. How, as part of our staffing services, do we help our clients improve their brands? Tied to that is reputation management. What are people saying about you? Are you proactively controlling the reviews that you're getting? Are you getting feedback after every service experience with a candidate and with a client? Are you getting different feedback from each office so you can compare office to office or even recruiter to recruiter? You want to be getting that feedback so that you are aware of problems before they become visible in the social media world. And then also, when you're getting positive feedback, you're encouraging more online reviews so that the good feedback, the part of your employment brand and your reputation, is out there in the interwebs, doing a great job helping to sell you even when you're not there. And another trend we're seeing is more video in job posts. So it's been slowly growing, the ability to add videos to job posts. We're seeing some of the programmatic software companies can now take video in their feeds. Some of the job boards are starting to take video. And if you think about the employment branding, if I'm a temporary worker and you tell me, hey, there's a job at ABC Manufacturing on the assembly line, It's one thing for you to give me a list of the duties and responsibilities and the pay and the benefits. It's a whole different thing to show me a video of what I'm going to be doing. Show me a video of who's the manager I'm going to be reporting to, so I can get a feel for the organization, a feel for the work. Not a long video, just something short. And if nothing else, even a video from your recruiter talking about the job, so I'm, as a candidate, start to have comfort with the person I'm going to be interviewing with. So we're seeing slow but steady growth of video integrated job posts, and expect to see a lot more of that in the next few years. All right, let's move on to pay-per-click advertising. So what it was just a couple of years ago was mostly just Google AdWords. I'm buying searches people are doing based on figuring out the keywords they may be typing in. I was targeting the specific searches, individual words and phrases that people go to Google and look for. So IT staffing company, and there's Bears Dev, the IT staffing company shows up, and that's an example of a keyword targeted ad. And Facebook, a lot of companies are just clicking the boost button to try to just get my content in front of more people on Facebook. And really looking at thinking about what's my cost per click. And just, I'm going to build everything on the cost per click. Well, going forward, we got to get more sophisticated. So Google, we're not getting rid of keyword targeting. It absolutely still matters, and we still want to be doing Google ads. But Google offers more than just targeting Google search results. We're going to look at Google in a couple of different ways. We're going to look at it from search as well as display advertising. So on search, we're going to be in the Google search results. Display, we're going to be on Google's advertising network, anywhere the 2 million websites where they place their ads. We want to think about dynamic content. So if somebody's searching for something, the ad that comes up matches information about them. Could be a location, could be a job title. So we want the content in the ad to adjust based on what the person was searching for. We want to use dynamic retargeting. Let's say somebody comes to your website and they visit the employer section of your website. Well, I don't want an ad to follow that person on, which is retargeting, that's all about job openings. I want an ad to follow that person around that's about the services you provide to employers. So I want my retargeting to be relevant based on the content somebody was consuming on my website. Thinking about matched audience advertising. This isn't new. It's been around for a couple of years, but not that many staffing companies are doing it, where we can take a list of names like our ATS list, upload it into Facebook. Google had this, but they took it away. Upload it into Facebook and then target people on our list through Facebook ads. And we're trying to re-engage with people we've worked with in the past. And then there's behavioral targeting, thinking about how people are using social media in particular, the sites they're visiting, the things they like, their interests, to the extent we can, the demographics, and targeting individuals so that we're putting ads in front of people that are as relevant as possible to the audience seeing them. You know, I'm a guy who owns a marketing company. So if I go on Facebook, almost every ad I see is targeted to me because it's about some software product designed for somebody who owns a marketing company. That's not even in my Facebook profile, but Facebook knows that about me. So it's showing me relevant ads through that behavioral targeting of things that I tend to engage with, and then I see more and more of that. You want to be thinking about your audience and what websites do they visit? What kinds of accounts do they follow or pages have they liked on Facebook or on Instagram? The more you know about your clients and candidates, the better you can think about how to use behavioral targeting to make your advertising work. And here, instead of cost per click, we want to get down to cost per conversion. What are we paying each time somebody takes an action? Now, some campaigns in PPC are really about branding and just helping to maintain top-of-mind awareness. And what we want is the maximum exposure. But more times than not, we're looking at driving a direct response. And how do we use this pay-per-click advertising as a direct response advertising vehicle? What's our cost of getting someone to take an action? And once we get a benchmark, how do we then try to test things to drive down that cost per conversion? All right, social media. So what it was, well, over the last several years, it's about maximizing how many people follow us. It's about content pushing. How much can I get the content out to people? It's about organic content distribution, meaning I'm not using a lot of paid tools. I build followers. My followers see what I'm sharing, and that's what I'm trying to achieve. It's organic in that it just shows up in the news feeds of the people who have liked our organization. And that's what we're really trying to think about is how does social media drive web traffic? Or at least that's what we were trying to think about, because as we look forward, social media is radically changing. There's so much noise on social. We have to think about setting new strategic goals. What are we trying to accomplish on social? And as we go through this list of bullets, you're going to rethink some of your own goals. Historically, I was even in the mindset of everything's about driving people to your website. Well, that's not really true anymore. A lot of social is going to be about maintaining engagement on social media so that then we're maybe driving the action right from social media. Our very own Brad Biley always says this to everyone here, every post has a purpose. Are we really thinking through what we're doing and not just putting content out for the sake of putting content out? We don't want to add to the noise. We want to make sure we're contributing to our employment branding. We're contributing to strengthening our value proposition, to strengthening our positioning, that we're reaching the right people with the right message. For many of you, you're going to want to think about your individual recruiters and your individual salespeople and account managers doing personal branding. It's easier for an individual to get reach on social media than it is for a business. And if you think about it, if you're an organization with 3 salespeople or 10 salespeople or 500 salespeople, your collective network of people you're connected to through all of your employees grows exponentially as the number of people participating in social media increases. So you want to think about how individuals in your organization can build their own personal brands so they're known for something. Just in a meeting we had this morning, we were talking about personal branding, and I asked our team, like, everybody here, you have a ton of expertise. Every individual in the room has expertise, but what do you really want to be known for? How do we make sure that you are known for that expertise and start building it into your social sharing so you build that personal brand? Now, if you're interested, we did a really awesome ebook on social media, and we set up a URL just so you can go back to that ebook. It was from a few months ago in our Idea Club newsletter, but you can go to haleymarketing.com/social superpowers to get that ebook. Now, we also want to look at content amplification. So how do we get the information you're sharing on social media to more people? And the personal branding ties to that content amplification. If I share a piece of content through a business account, a very small percentage of our followers see it. If all of our employees like that content, that will increase the number of people who see it. If they then reshare it in their own personal accounts, that increases the number of people who see it. And we want to create this amplification by getting more people in the organization involved, potentially even working with your temporary associates like a fan club and getting them involved in content amplification. A lot of you have heard of us talk about a new product we're coming out with, Net Social. Net Social was built to really facilitate content amplification because we're seeing just how important that is for all of our clients to maximize their impact on social. The thumb-stopping visuals. The battle for people's attention is sort of like the war for talent. It's getting harder and harder to win. So we have to have great graphics, and we have to do more and more video in our social content that is designed to using color, using appropriate headlines, using the right pictures or illustrations, getting people as they're scrolling through their LinkedIn feed or their Twitter feed or their Instagram or Facebook to stop when they see what you're sharing and just have it capture their attention for a moment or two to then drive whatever we want them to do next. We're also going to be thinking even more about groups and communities in 2020. So social is about being social. Facebook, LinkedIn has great groups. I think Facebook groups may be getting even more popular than LinkedIn groups have been, thanks to what Facebook has done to really promote groups. We want to be thinking about creating conversations, not just selling job openings, unless it's a group that's solely about job posts, but getting to know the people who are part of the community and thinking about them as talent pools or maybe employer pools that you're going to network with, make friends with, and ultimately have the opportunity to serve by leveraging content and personal communication in those groups and communities. This is what I mentioned earlier, a lot of social, the networks don't want you leaving. Just like Google doesn't want you leaving Google results, Facebook and LinkedIn don't want you leaving their platforms. So we have to think about how to drive the actions we want, people applying to jobs, people contacting us about our services through our interactions on social, that they're going to go directly from social to taking an action, whether that's to click a button to go to the next contact point, or it's picking up the phone, or it's going to a messenger capability built into the social platform. We're thinking about how to actually have our sales and recruiting process operate through social media. It's a bit of a headache because there's more to monitor, but it's going to become more and more important because social is going to do more to keep us from leaving. And that ties to messaging and conversation. I know not everybody loves this, that Facebook jobs come in through Messenger, but our clients who are the most successful with Facebook have people in the office assigned to watching Facebook all day long. May not be the same person all day long, but they assign the responsibility to have these conversations. And really, it's no different than a recruiter being on the telephone. You're engaging with your audience through social media, and you need to be prepared to do that as part of your service process. And social media, whether you like it or not, a lot of it's about paid targeting. We have to get money behind what we're doing to target the right audience. Unfortunately, organic reach isn't enough. We have to think about where do we put money behind our content to start those conversations to increase our reach with the right target audience based on their demographics, psychographics, behavioral interests. All right, let's get a bigger topic, just sales lead generation in entirety. A lot of companies we're talking to, this is becoming more and more important, getting back to generating sales leads. So what it was, we're going back to 1996. I mean, this is probably what it was even just a few years ago. But cold calling, drop-bys, networking, MPC calls. It's basically old school sales tactics is what this industry has relied on historically. And by and large, this is the majority of what we're doing today. Well, strategies for 2020 is segmentation. Thinking about my different client bases, whether it's segmentation by industry size, by location, by vertical market. I want to think about how my customers are different and make sure that my outreach is appropriate based on the audience. I want to think about this model called ADA, awareness, interest, desire, action. And unfortunately, I don't have enough time to get into a lot of depth with ADA, but your outreach, before you can have a sales conversation, which happens in the desire action phase, I have to do something to create awareness and make the individual want to talk to me, create interest. That's how marketing should be integrating into your sales process. It's about integrated direct marketing, targeting ideal prospects, using multiple channels of outreach and multiple ways people can follow up and multiple ways people can take action to try to get that first conversation. And then think about it being a long-term process of nurturing rather than just, I make a call, I get an appointment, I close the appointment. I may have to nurture people over weeks, months, sometimes years to get the opportunity to strengthen my positioning, to wait till the incumbent makes a mistake and I get a chance. But this integrated direct marketing is a way to stay top of mind, break through the clutter, and elevate the conversations your sales team is having. And taking it one step further is something called ABM, or account-based marketing, where you do the same integrated direct marketing approach, but you personalize it for individual prospects. Maybe I'm going after that $100 million or $500 million or Fortune 100 company. I really better think about how do I tailor our outreach, our marketing, email, direct mail. If we're still doing drop-bys, that's fine. They may be part of the mix. Our social messaging, how do I tailor it to the individual company I'm targeting so they're seeing really relevant communication from our firm? That's what account-based marketing is. It's just integrated direct marketing taken up to the notch of personalization to the individual prospect. And then there's content and inbound marketing. Certainly not new, but an increased emphasis on how do we break through the clutter with better content, more relevant, more useful. Everybody's doing content marketing. So if we're blogging, how do we blog with the purpose of getting to more meaningful content, or maybe building up to an ebook or a video, or maybe creating more visually based blog content with infographics and videos? Got to think about cross-channel branding. Are we doing things consistently in the real world, on social media, in email, so that wherever we're communicating with our target audience, we're using the same language. So we're setting a consistent positioning message that every salesperson and every recruiter knows the company value proposition, knows the company core values, and is leveraging them in communication. And then really thinking about turning the website into a platform for lead generation, because a lot of the marketing, instead of making people go directly to a salesperson, which may intimidate some, or they may not be ready to talk to a salesperson, give them the opportunity to go to your website to download information, to learn more. So it becomes a platform for generating warm sales leads. And tie that to marketing automation, so that you're automating follow-up with people who engage with your website, whether it's email follow-up or then tying them to advertising that you're doing on Google and social media. You are surrounding the clients, the prospects, the candidates who engage with you online, so everywhere they go, they then continue to see you and they continue to have your positioning reinforced. If you want more information on the sales lead generation, we've got a really good ebook on this one too. You can go to haleymarketing.com/salesleads to pick up the guide to sales lead generation. All right, and we've got a couple of topics left to round out our webinar. The next one is recruitment marketing, and I think this is my favorite slide. What it was, non-existent. Recruitment marketing was really about run a job post. And for many, many years, we didn't have anything else we were thinking about for recruitment marketing. Well, it's time to think differently. We have to think a lot more than just our job posts. We need to think about optimizing that career site or career portal so that the most number of candidates who come into the portal apply to a job. We want to get as many conversions as possible and make sure that the site itself is attracting people through SEO and through sharing on social media. We need to have that actively managed job advertising so we're making smart decisions that are centrally managed. We need to have strategies for social recruiting, strategies for active job seekers who are on social media, as well as different strategies for job seekers who are passive, not really thinking about looking for a job, but may be interested if they get a referral from a friend or they see the right information about a better opportunity. And really, again, think about, this is the third time I'm going to say that employment branding. How are we known in the community? Can your current candidates name your staffing company? Can they name another staffing company? We find that very often staffing companies have very weak employment brands, but you're in the business of employment. You should have a great employment brand. And employment branding is thinking about the message you want to deliver and how to make sure that that message is visible and known by your ideal candidates in the communities you serve, whether that community is geographically focused or it's industry focused over a wide geography or nationally. And then lastly, that proactive reputation management. We have to be thinking about all of these pillars of recruitment marketing and how we optimize them to drive more candidates to our company and get more of them wanting to work for us to build more people applying and more referrals. And then, as I mentioned earlier, making sure your website's set up to re-engage talent, whether it's done through email, whether it's done through PPC advertising. We want to make sure we're trying to stay top of mind with candidates we've recruited so that we can get them to come back to apply to our jobs. The picture you see on screen is our smart recruiting checklist, which we've offered before, but I'm going to repeat the offer. You can get it at haleymarketing.com/smartrecruiting. It's got 194 questions that you can bring to your team to help improve your recruitment marketing in all of these areas. All right, our last topic, and sort of kind of wrapping it all together, is marketing a staffing company on whole. So what it was, well, it was basically the old Mad Men. It was about activity volume. Maybe the marketing consisted of sales collateral and trinkets and trash that were being shared. That's all those promotional items. Well, strategies for 2020, let's be smart. We need to have strategy-based marketing, really thinking about what are our SMART goals and what are the strategies that are going to enable us to achieve those goals this year. There's our smart marketing guide. Just like the smart recruiting checklist, we have a smart marketing checklist that you can get at haleymarketing.com/smartmarketing. We want to simplify our messaging. You want to think about in the most basic terms, what is your value proposition so that anybody can understand it? And you've seen a couple examples in the presentation. Just I want simple messages in my graphics on my website in print pieces so that people get what I can deliver. Everybody's super busy these days. And if we have complicated messages, no one remembers it. You want to have clarity and consistency from your website to your print pieces to what your salespeople and recruiters say so that not only is the message easy to understand, but everybody's using the same language. You're using consistent visuals in how you promote your organization. Design and copy absolutely still count. Having good-looking marketing materials that represent your brand accurately makes a ton of sense, but you want to make sure that the design and copy fit within your strategy. Also, it's about technology. Marketing has come a long, long way. I know we're getting ready for the upcoming Staffing Tech Conference, and the tech stack for for marketing in the staffing industry has grown immensely. There's technology for awareness, technology for engagement, technology for analytics. And I just did a quick brain dump of some things I thought of for this particular graphic, social networks, Google and social ad management, content curation tools, content distribution tools, SEO and keyword research software. That's just an awareness category. In every one of these categories, there's lots of technology that can assist in your marketing. I think we're buying tools in every one of these areas. It takes a lot to run marketing well, but you also need the tools to improve your efficiency so that your data is better, you know what to do, and you can put together more comprehensive, more intelligent strategies for optimizing your marketing and achieving your 2020 goals. And with that said, and with 2 minutes to spare, I'm opening it up if we have any questions from today's webinar. While waiting for questions to come in, if you are so inclined and would like to see our webinar on ADA compliance, I promised it earlier, you can watch anytime at haleymarketing.com/ADA, and that will take you to the on-demand product demo webinar for that one. And finally, we have a couple of upcoming events for February. Our next Lunch with Haley, I mentioned, is going to be on SEO, and our SEO team, we've grown, we'll be getting together Thursday, February 13th to walk you through the latest and greatest trends that you need to think about for your website and how to optimize it in 2020. And then we're going to follow that up with some product demo where we're going to show you some of the specific changes that we've made in our own ongoing SEO services as a result of all we've learned in SEO and the changes that are going on. And that will be on Tuesday, February the 18th. You can sign up for both of those events at lunchwithhaley.com. And then we did have a question just come in that I'll read to the group. What would your suggestion be for those of us who are a marketing team of one? What's the best thing to focus on? And I think that a lot of companies have that where there's maybe one person in marketing. And I would say that the starting point is your SMART goals and strategies. Because if you know you're more focused on sales or recruiting, you need to start there. And then you need to think about what type of client are we getting? What type of candidate? Start with the strategy. The next thing I would look at would be the foundation, the website. Is the website designed to help us achieve our objectives? Because if the website doesn't provide a great foundation for the other marketing, all that money you're going to spend and all the effort you're going to put into marketing is going to fall on its face when the website fails. So you need a great website as a foundation, a website that tells your story the way you want it told, a website with content that engages people, a website that's optimized for search, a website that has landing pages and calls to action to drive conversion. Then when all that's done, then I'd go back to probably those smart marketing checklists and think about what are the best strategies for either lead gen or best strategies for recruiting that you could focus on. And I would sort of break it down like that. Overall goals, strategies, building your foundation, and then the execution tactics. So I hope that is helpful. All right, we are just at 3 o'clock, so I want to send a big thank you to everybody for taking your time to be part of today's webinar. From all of us at Haley Marketing Group, we hope you enjoyed this event, and we look forward to seeing you on our next Lunch with Haley webinar.